More in the public eye and can't, for their own personal or business reasons, become political. But there are members of the public in all of our surrounding communities that are very supportive of this protest, and they have been for years, and they're glad that people are now starting to become aware, more informed, and more active on the issue. So again, thank you very much for being here. We all have our own reasons. Some are in one, coming from one direction, coming from another direction, coming from another direction or purpose, but we're all aiming towards the same goal. Again, that's a very powerful message to City Council, that for hundreds of different reasons, people want the same thing. And what do we want? We want them to vote no. So I'd like us just to chant so they can hear us. Let's say 4 times, vote no. Ready? Vote no! Vote no! Vote no! Vote no! Thank you. And we've got a speaker today. We got several speakers today. Last time we focused on some real estate, some traffic issues, some general information. We're going to broaden that a little bit today with some new points of view to consider and information to consider. I'd like to introduce Ryan Stewart.
Thank you all so much for taking the time to come out again for our round 2 McLeod Steel opposition protest against rezoning our waterfront to heavy industry. I want to take the time to thank everybody for everything that you've done, whether it's hand out flyers from door to door or even share posts and information so that our neighbors and other Trenton residents have the opportunity to learn about how this process has happened and what it is that we can do as individuals and residents. The Dalai Lama said it best when he said, if you think as an individual you can't make a difference, try to go to sleep with a mosquito. Today, as Kirsten had mentioned, we're going to spend a little bit of time having speakers come up to discuss not only the regional importance around economic development and environmental protection and how this type of development will impact our neighbors to the north in Riverview and to the east on Grosse Ile. We'll also have an expert speak on the negative health impacts that come with intermodal shipping and some of the associated air pollution. So our first speaker today will be a resident by the name of Amy, who has done a great deal in terms of handing out information, flyers, spreading the word, and generally speaking, being one of the most enthusiastic and boisterous supporters that I have ever met.
I'm a little shorter. Can you guys hear me? Thank you so much. Okay, I just wanted to give a little bit of background about myself. I think when I was passing out flyers, I would see some kids riding by on bikes. Oh, I saw you on Facebook. So I saw that it was spreading, and it made me feel really good. But I know that a few people are wondering who I am. My name is Amy Sinclair Chappelle, and I was born and raised in Trenton. I moved away when I went to college, and even when I first got married, I moved to Troy. But when I had my son, I wanted to move back to Trenton because of the sense of community. So that's what I did. My parents are from the Downriver area. My dad graduated from Grosse Ile High School in 1952. I think that's amazing. I think that's so cool. I think he probably had like 40 people in his graduating class. My parents built their home in Trenton in 1960, literally had it built, picked out the oven, the countertops, the bathrooms, the bay window, one of the first on the street. My mom is still in that home and she's 86 years old. Woo! Woo! There's awesome. 88 years old in her home in Trenton. That's awesome. Woo! I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and with 6 kids in the family, we were heavily involved in the community. We were in all the sports, we were in figure skating and hockey, and because of that, my parents were heavily involved as well. My dad coached hockey for many years, and later in life, he was a member of the Lions Club and served there, and a lot of people know him that way as well. Unfortunately, my dad passed away this past November, and so part of this is in his memory for me. But I thought what was strange and very sad too was because my family was known in the community, the week of my dad's funeral, my mom received a card in the mail and she opened it on that Saturday, and it was from Mayor Stack, offering her condolences to my family. And unfortunately, by the time my mom had opened the mail on Saturday, Mayor Stack had passed away the night before unexpectedly. But I'm here today because we cannot let the community that our parents and grandparents helped to build be decimated by industrial waterfront. I feel like the city is looking at this from a financial standpoint, and to me that's very short-sighted. The long-term impact to our property values, the environment, and our overall health is what should be looked at, not the short-term financial status of the city. I've been contacted by many people via text, messenger, various different ways, telling me that they're on my side, that they're on our side, that we should never let this happen, and they're so proud that we're working and fighting for those who can't do it themselves. I also was contacted by a former Maroon employee, which is the person who runs Crown Enterprises, and he told me, he said, if you ever saw one of their facilities, you should be concerned. So I intend to reach out, try to find some more employees to talk to, and see what else I can find out. Okay, thank you. Another comment I saw which hit home with me is somebody said, Downriver residents are working class people, and the majority of their nest egg is tied up in their real estate value. So them making this decision that could possibly affect and probably will affect our property values, what are we gonna do? What are those people gonna do? How are they gonna survive when all of their money is gone because their property value is plummeted? At the city council the last city council meeting, I felt like there was a message to us that the community is misinformed about what's happening. And so they said that they wanted to put together an FAQ about what's happening, to put it out there for us to read so that we can be informed. So if you go out there and you read it, it seems to me that they're the ones that are misinformed. There's information in their FAQs that don't align with what was in the proposals that were submitted. So I pointed that out to the mayor. I wrote to him this morning, and I intend to follow up on that, but I feel like it's a little bit, I don't want to use a word that I'm going to regret, but I feel like the city of Trenton is misinforming the community. And they're not, I don't know if they're misinformed or it's deliberate, but that's what I intend to get to the bottom of. There also seems to have been a flawed RFQ process from Wayne County when this whole thing went down. If you look at the process that was followed for quotes and to get proposals and compare it to what anyone would do, any company, any other community, you would do your due diligence, and there were a lot of steps that were left out, and even the RFQ may have been written in a way that was, set up to receive industrial type quotes. So just wanted to let you know that I am trying to look into all of these things, as are some other people, and just to kind of get you informed on what might be going on. I do have a meeting with the mayor on Tuesday, so if there's anything personal or anything you want me to relay for you that you don't feel like doing, I will do that. I intend to talk to him about some meetings that I've learned about that took place in 2016, and I want to understand more about those and if he's aware of those, and also about this FAQ document and kind of the information that seems to be left out. I also intend to tell him that we have almost 4,000 signatures, and you cannot let just a few people go against 4,000 people. So my shirt says Vox Populi, and that means the voice of the people, and I'm going to make sure that I communicate that and make sure that he's held accountable to that. So please write to the council members and the mayor. There are Facebook pages up here with great resources of pages to follow to get some of this information that I'm talking about. And there is also a petition, like Kirsten said, it's not here because it's online, but we have pens. We will take email addresses and send it to you if you want to leave that for us. So thank you very much. Vox Populi.
Thank you, Amy. Ironically, our next speaker, Dr. Lisa Rogers, has been held up by a train. So we're going to skip the order. She will be here. But again, there you go. So we all know that that is part of the reason why we have foresight enough, based on our current experience, having no heavy industrial at McLeod Steel, that if and when, and they will, start running trains, if it is rezoned for brand new industrial, and it would pick up more train traffic, which in turn would become not within our city's control, because trains and railways are a federally governed thing, and so we would literally be giving up the reins to our future and our destiny and our economic, well, we'd be at the mercy of it. We would like to remind everybody that there is a lot of misinformation being perpetuated from the city. For whatever their reasons, whether they're blurry or misinterpreted to us or completely left out of what they're communicating. And, you know, that's always a flag. You don't need to be a politician, you don't need to be an investigator to recognize when somebody doesn't want to tell you something. It's either going to be really awesome or it's going to be really horrible. And the amount of information that we've already received is pointing against awesome. So we just want them to keep mixed use. There is a very small sliver of property that's there that we may not be able to get converted, but they purchased the property having the largest portion of the property currently zoned for mixed use, and that's exactly why the law requires that they have to come up with a proposal and vote. The city is claiming that the proposed zoning for sweeping heavy industrial along our waterfront has nothing to do with that business proposal, but it does. It's happening simultaneously. It changed completely from the previous zoning proposal that was posted online for the community to be aware of and give input to, that was a product of the Trenton Coast Resiliency Master Plan. And it was available online until about a month ago, when they surprised us with the new heavy industrial zoning proposal that they refused to call a heavy industrial zoning proposal. I love the city of Trenton. I respect our elected officials and appointed officials. I've never been one to buck that system. I respect city services. I appreciate city services like we all do. And when we decide that we want to become aware and we try to circumvent, you know, biased verbal information for verifiable documents and public information, and we get dismissed or ignored or patronized for our concerns, we need to be more concerned. And this protest and the previous protest and the next protest and the petition and the involvement and the phone calls and the emails and the letters and the media coverage will help us make a difference. So I know it's a little tough when you're buying time in between speakers to get the crowd going. I do want to remind you that we do have yard signs. You will be allowed to take one home. We are asking for now, because the donation was limited, that we take them home one per household so that we can have more households in more neighborhoods with the signs, and we will post the information so people can order more on their own and directly from the sign maker. We want to keep mixed use, right? We have faith that future community elected officials and appointed officials can do something with mixed use, negotiating with the current property owner, right? We might have a pattern of behavior and a very long history that leaves this new property owner giving us a bad taste in our mouths, but we're open to negotiating mixed use, right? I don't find that there's any reason why they couldn't or shouldn't do mixed use. They may have hoped, they may have hinted, they might request, and they might even demand heavy industrial zoning for that property, but they're not entitled to it, and we can say no. And we can keep mixed use. There's no excuse. One person gave public testimony at the last council meeting and said, fear of a lawsuit shouldn't be a reason to give them what they want. Now, to that point, I'd like to say, if you give them what they want for that reason, you just taught them that's exactly how to get everything they want. And you've got to be willing to stick up for your community. You can't give somebody your purse because they tell you they're going to take it. You got to at least try, right? And trying works. It's worked in other communities. It's worked in other states. It's worked in other steel mills and with other properties, even that this current property owner has had. They haven't always gotten their way. And we don't want our own city to snowplow us into an industrial ditch and let a private property owner who is known to decimate residential neighborhoods and take over and dominate to, yeah, but I'm not going to, and to control our city's future and our future finances. We don't want an umbilical cord tied to that business, that property, or that company.
Where's the site plan?
Yeah, where's the site plan? That's another thing. I'm not going to speak to, maybe Ryan can. I've got lots of opinions. I really shouldn't spend too much time on a microphone. But I'd like to do another chant, because I do know they're listening. There might even be a city council member here or in a neighborhood listening from a friend's yard, or who might tune in later to hear what we say. And what I'd like us to say this time 4 times is keep mixed use, no excuse. So let's say it as loud as we can. Keep mixed use, no excuse. 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 I can't count. So next I'd like to invite Mark Lane up to the podium.
How can I follow you? You're just amazing.
It's all on the fly.
It's all good.
This is Mark. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you for being here.
Oh, we gotta hold this. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Trenton. And I think I've lost the mic.
Yeah.
That's one way to start off with the bank. Good afternoon, Trenton. My name is Mark Lane, and I'm from Grosse Ile. And oh, come on, you can clap better than that for Grosse Ile. I'm speaking with you today as your neighbor from Grosse Ile and a representative of the Grosse Ile 2020 candidates team that won 5 of the 7 township board seats in the recent election. Thank you very much. Now, as you all know, my run for clerk fell a few votes short, but hey, that's okay. We're still in this. We still have November. So we're looking forward to seeing, again, most of you out at the polls in November. Now, Grosse Ile 2020 candidates run on a platform of opposing the reindustrialization of the Detroit River, Trenton Channel shoreline areas. Specifically, we strongly oppose the construction of an intermodal shipping port on the McClaw Steel site in Trenton and Riverview.
Just say no.
That's right, just say no.
Just say no.
The Grosse Ile 2020 candidates believe it's time for regional cooperation. We all need to work together, not just because we're across one bridge at this time, but we should always be communicating with each other. Communication is 75% listening. We need to listen to each other, and we need to work with each other. The decision about the future McClaw Steel site is mainly in the hands of the Trenton City Council, and we respect the City Council's right to make this decision and understand they are dealing with a complex situation that requires consideration of all factors. We believe that. We believe this is a democracy. We should all be heard. They should be heard, but we should work together. We should be communicating better. The Grosse Ile 2020 candidates mainly want the residents of Trenton and Trenton city officials to know the next Grosse Ile Township Board will be ready to support your efforts to clean up the environment and promote sustainable economic development. As you can see, I wrote a little speech today, so I was hoping for a podium. Where's the podium, Ryan? So it's time for all of the Trenton Channel communities to work together to make the river a key part of nautical economy. The Trent River is a tremendous asset for mixed-use development on the shoreline areas. We need to promote businesses that will take advantage of the water as beautiful locations to attract citizens to live, work, shop, and enjoy recreation. Now, I work in Detroit, so I'm familiar with the Detroit River and what they're doing down there by the Renset. It's absolutely gorgeous. We could be doing the same thing here. Many cities around Michigan and the nation have already achieved this goal. The city of Detroit, like I just mentioned, Chicago, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and numerous other cities have demonstrated that industrial waterfront areas can be repurposed to create better jobs of the future and boost property tax revenues with mixed-use redevelopment and public access to the water. This strategy can work here. It can work here in Downriver. But again, they have to listen. We need to build a consensus among citizens and officials on both sides of the Trenton Channel communities that our region deserves a better economic future. We're all hurting right now. This COVID has hurt our businesses. We need to think smart. We need to get down to brass tacks, as one of my English teachers used to tell me all the time. An intermodal shipping port on the McClaw Steel site will have a negative impact on regional traffic flow, increased air, water, noise, and light pollution, and in decreasing property values. Decreasing property values. Decreasing property values. We don't want that. None of us do. Not just because we're in Grosse Ile, Trenton, Wyandotte, Riverview. We all do not want that. The impact on Grosse Ile will be especially bad. Building this new consensus starts with communications, and I applaud all the work being done by the citizens here today to send the message to everyone that we can do better on the McClaw Steel site. The new leadership of Grosse Ile Township is willing to be your partner in achieving that goal. Thank you to Ryan Stewart, all the organizers and citizens here today. Grosse Ile supports you. Thank you very much.
Wow. That's a lot of really powerful words from residents, and it's so wonderful to see the support from our neighboring communities. You know, I'm very thankful to see that the future leadership of Grosse Ile has offered an olive branch to our community to help and engage and to overcome what have been artificial barriers between downriver cities for far too long. It's time that we recognize that the downriver region has a lot in common, and we have far more in common with one another than we have that's not. So a little bit of housekeeping. You know, if anybody, I know it's a hot day, if you need a little bit of water, Riverview resident Brian Webb here has brought some water. It's in coolers. Feel free to help yourself. There is hand sanitizer up here.
They might want to know we dealt with Maroon and Public Marsh and the intermodal
Yeah,
railroad,
that's a great point.
which he does.
Yeah. So
I got all the information in my car.
thank you. So if you would like, I know that Kirsten had mentioned there are yard signs, please, one per household. The Trenton Police Department has been very gracious in providing us, you know, space and support and spending time here to make sure that things go smoothly and well. They have requested that we make sure to leave this space, please, as pristine as we have found it. So if you have trash, you know, tape, anything of the like, if you can think to pick it up and take it with you, or if you want to stick around for a minute afterward to make sure that everything is a clean space. We just appreciate that, you know, we have the support of the Trenton Police Department in that regard. So up next, I wanted to introduce Dr. Lisa Rogers. She's going to spend some time discussing some of the negative, pernicious health impacts that come with air pollution and intermodal transportation. So if you could please give her a round of applause.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be involved with this group of opposition. I am a cancer specialist.
You gotta get closer or something.
Okay, I'm a cancer specialist, And I'm very pleased to be involved with this group. You know, immediately when I heard about this potential for developing an intermodal shipping site, you think about the obvious concerns of noise. Others have mentioned this too: noise pollution, the damage to the roads from heavy trucks. There's water pollution from lifting up the sediment in front of the site to allow the shipping freighters to come through. Certainly this has a negative effect on the wildlife refuge just down the way. There's so many different factors to consider. I'm going to focus on the health one. And it's quite ironic that on the way over here I was held up by a train. And that's a very simple one to consider. Already there are delays in an ambulance getting to take someone to the hospital and getting someone to the hospital. This is affected by increased train traffic. Also, anytime those bridges are open from Grosse Ile to allow ships to go through, it's going to delay ambulances. Okay, that's a very simple thing to consider.
Can you speak up a little bit? We're
Sure.
having trouble hearing him. Thank you.
Do you think there's anything to do different? I'm pretty close. Joe, okay, I'll be closer. Thank you. You might be interested to know that prior to COVID, the #1 public health problem in the United States was air quality. And that's what this major issue is about here with an intermodal shipping site. And this relates predominantly to the trucks that are driving from Detroit down to this downriver site, and also to the trains. And the big problem with trucks that are carrying these heavy items is that they're emitting diesel fumes. And very recently, diesel fumes were identified as a carcinogen. We always thought that they were, but enough evidence has now accumulated this is a carcinogen. In addition, diesel fumes contain a number of other substances: carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, a number of chemicals called volatile organic compounds, and also particulate matter, all of which are harmful. And when you consider a site such as this, you have the trucks. I'd like you to visualize it, which is what I've done in studying this. Visualize a truck coming from Detroit to the downriver area and leaving its cargo and going back. Anywhere along that path, residents, schools, parks, play areas are subject to this pollution. In addition, when when a truck parks outside of the site and is idling, this also produces the same toxic diesel fumes, and there are motorized vehicles on the site itself which produce this. And you might think, well, within that site, wouldn't it be all kind of contained? But no, it's not. Even a half-mile away, these particulates travel. I'm going to focus on cancer a little bit later, but I want you to know from studies of other intermodal sites, it's been demonstrated that within that half-mile radius, children have an increased risk of asthma, or if they have asthma, their asthma is worse, and this sometimes requires increasing medications and trips to the emergency room. Lung development in very young children is delayed, and they have poor lung function. Pregnant women have more miscarriages and preterm births. Surprisingly, these toxic compounds from diesel fumes also affect blood vessels, and there's an increased risk of heart disease and stroke. Now, if we focus on cancer, I've actually done some pretty detailed analysis of cancer in the downriver area, and it proves to be not that significantly different than that in Detroit. And there's a little bit more data available from Detroit, so I'm going to focus on that. Detroit has the highest rate of, I should back up, Wayne County has the highest rate of lung cancer in the state of Michigan. Okay? Surprising. Well, that's a good point. So they've been able to link it partly to tobacco use, but in large part to industries that expose people to toxic compounds, including diesel. 5 of the industries are related to diesel exposure. Absolutely. And as I mentioned earlier, for a long time we thought that diesel fumes caused cancer. Very recently, the International Agency for Research on Cancer, which is a part of the World Health Organization, their job is to discover the cause of cancer, determined that diesel fumes are a cause of lung cancer. The air quality index in Detroit and the surrounding areas, and that index is determined by the risk of lung disease such as asthma, but also lung cancer. Our index quality is lower than many places in the United States. So we're already handicapped. I mentioned earlier, just as you just commented, some of it's occupational, this risk of developing lung cancer in Wayne County is partly from cigarettes, but partly industrial. So to me, the health risks of this type of a development of an intermodal shipping site, the health risks are very real and they are very serious. And these have to be considered very carefully when you're considering redevelopment of this site. Thank you.
Thank you. I just confirmed because I wanted to make sure I heard her correctly. That half-mile radius, she just confirmed, is beyond the path of those semi-trucks also. So that means anywhere those, not just a half a mile from the site itself, but from wherever the vehicles, those diesel-driven vehicles, travel through our community or from and to our community because of that industrial proposed zoning. Okay, we have a surprise person, a surprise speaker that came. She heard about our protest. She has her own concerns, and she came in support to speak today. She is a city council member from the city of Dearborn, and her name is Leslie Harris. And I want to give a special round of applause because that's how important this is. We've got a physician here who took her time today to educate us and support our protest. And we've got, I'm going to say fellow city council person because she knows what it's like to be in the hot seat and here to support our protest. Please give us insight, Leslie. Thank you.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm here today. I grew up in Dearborn, but I spent a lot of time down here growing up. My dad was an industrial photographer, and I actually took photos in McLeod Steel when it was operational. And I know that in the past, one of the reasons why my dad valued the leadership of John Dingell was that he was able to balance recognizing the jobs and the economic value of having an industrial partner in the community, and to try to negotiate to preserve waterways. But now we have an opportunity. McLeod is closed, and I applaud you all for being here today and what you've been doing to look at the long-term vision for the future of that property. It can be cleaned up, it can be used for mixed use, it can draw people here. Mark Lane talked about economic value of the waterways, and so you can preserve it. You can preserve the waterways, clean it up, clean up the environment, protect the environment, and still capitalize on it with your economy if you do some mixed use. And you have the opportunity to again give the public access to that waterway. Instead of it being closed off, it can be an attraction for more parkland and green space, access for boaters, kayakers, to use that land. So I urge the City Council to consider this deeply. I know that they have difficult decisions to make, especially in this difficult economy right now with COVID, and all of our cities are going to be getting less money back from the state this year. But we can't look short term. We have to look long term, beyond ourselves, to the next generation and those to come for what we do with the land now. So I'll do whatever I can to support you in your efforts. Thank you.
I just want to say thanks again, not only to all of our speakers, but to everybody who has taken their time to come out this Sunday and the previous protest on Sunday. We have a city council meeting tomorrow. It is a Zoom meeting. This item is not on the agenda. However, that does not preclude us from being able to take the time to go and give public commentary, because the more that we show up and make sure that our voices are heard, the more relevant and realistic information that we're able to share, the more people that we are able to touch, both within our community and in our neighboring communities, will just show that our momentum as a group with a purpose and a focus will continue to grow. We can't be ignored. The Trenton City Council has a really important decision to make, and it's critical that we as residents have a voice in our democracy. that our vision and our purpose is taken seriously. So once again, I would like to thank all of the speakers, from the council people and Grosse Ile to Dr. Rogers and our community and residents who have taken the time to come up here. If there is anybody else, a member of the community, that feels inclined or compelled to have something to say, I would be more than happy to open the space so that we can continue to get more input, because I think it's important that everybody's voice is heard. Everybody has a perspective that's valuable, and everybody has experience, and everybody is relevant to this decision.
My name is Jack Purdy. I've been a lifelong resident here in Trenton. Grew up on 3rd Street. I used to run up and down these banks on the Detroit River as a kid. Now, if anybody is in their 60s, they know that the river and the condition of it back during the day, dead fish, oil slicks, and look at all the work that's been done to the river to make it what it is today. Just down the river is the last undeveloped mile, Humbug Marsh International Wildlife Refuge. What's going to happen when these ships come in, stir up whatever they stir up, ballast water, invasive species, etc.? These are things that need to be concerned with now. Because everything that's been done for the wildlife refuge, this is such a unique, pristine ecosystem here. Let's not forget about all that and the things that are going to result because of it.
Ask them if they knew
Oh yeah, well yeah. Maroon won after the Humbug Marsh, but Friends of Detroit River put a stop to that along with the other communities. So yeah, there's quite a history going on here. But this is